Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Honor the Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Ledford, and today we have the amazing Yasmine with us, and I can't wait to share her with you. As you know, we start each episode with an image and story from my travels, because when I was traveling is when I really started to hear my intuition again. She started to whisper and bubble up, and I know that she was always there, but she'd just gotten lost in the chaos and the noise of the day-to-day. So today, our image is called Dragon Power. It was taken in Bodha, Nepal. Bodha Checha, near Kathmandu, is a Buddhist community, and at its center is the Bodhath Stupa. The stupa is a symbol of enlightenment. As the day dawns, the bells of the Buddhist monastery in Bodha ring out the prayers of devotees. This dragon is on the ceiling of one of the temples and watches over those who enter. In mythology, the dragon represents the vital potential of falling rain and flowing water. Life is a process of constant growth, and feeling into the flow creates some ease within the experience. And this is the image that reminds me of our guest today, Yasmine Cheyenne. Yasmine, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to play with you today. So share yourself with us. Tell us about you.
So I am a writer. I like to just consider myself a creative because I do a lot of different things with styling and blogging and makeup. And at the heart of what I do, I feel like everything comes from healing and helping women to bring healing into themselves. I done energy work, and I also have offered circles and workshops around helping women to heal. So yeah, that's a little bit. That was a lot of things, but a little bit of what I do.
Can you, because I know you, can you speak to the transition from your military career to more of this?
Yes.
Because that seems disjunct out in the world on the surface.
It is. I'm a Air Force veteran. I served on active duty for 5 years, and I did 3 years reserve. I've deployed. I'm a combat veteran, and my world just 5 years ago was completely different. My world 3 years ago, but talking about the military, my world 5 years ago was completely different than the one that I live today. And mostly not even because I was a soldier, but because of the mind frame in which I made decisions and how I lived my life. In the military, it was all about logic. This plus this will equal this. I never would have thought or said I should go based on my intuition or feeling. That's partly true. I was a cop for a little bit, and I would have most definitely used my intuition. I just wouldn't have called it that before I made a decision about something. But I was in a place of just using my mind and what I thought would be best based on the world to make decisions for myself and my life, which was not working out very well for me. Career-wise, I was doing great. Emotional, mental health-wise, not so much. Yeah.
Did you have a moment where you realized, I can't keep doing this? Like, was there a moment, or did it just happen over time?
You know me, I need the bludgeoning.
Well, and you know how much I can appreciate that.
It had to happen over time because it had to happen over and over again. I got out of the military because I really wanted to be with my daughter, and I didn't want to keep deploying, while she was so young. And so I separated, and I found myself back at the government, and there was occurrence after occurrence after occurrence that had to take place before I got to a space that a friend actually told me, I really think you should check out Brene Brown's TED Talk. So that just gets to show you the time frame in which it took me until I realized I need to change my life a little bit. Because I used to say on interviews, you know, I'm a perfectionist, and I think that's why you should hire me, because I am going to get it done. And that got me really far. And I didn't realize that that was something that was really adhering to my happiness and health and well-being. I mean, that just wouldn't have made sense before. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had those moments where it was like, oh, wait, if I actually show up and give a shit, I'm like the best employee around. And like, that was my nature. So I was amazing.
Yes. And they're always, you know, because of who I am, if you give me a task, I'm there. And I'm there 1000%. Now I'm giving you 100. Like, you're giving me 100, I'm giving you 100. That's reciprocity. That's how my energy system works and how I'm able to continue to be in flow and not deplete. But before you give me 100, I'm giving you 1,000. I have to give everything that I don't have. I'm pulling from years that I haven't lived yet to make sure that you're getting everything that you could ask for and more.
Plus, you're going to know how worthy I am in the process.
Yes. You'll finally validate me, and this will all be better. Like that was my, that was my MO for sure.
I get it. And
the crazy thing about being a woman and having that MO is that you're considered to be, they used to tell me, oh, you're like one of the guys.
All the time.
We can really depend on you, not like the other, it's this complete separation of like, because you will do all of these things, that means that you are more man-like, which means we trust you more and you're more likely to succeed. Which, by the way, the reason these men, and I used to tell my coworkers this, because all my coworkers were men, they'd say, like, you have to be at this meeting. I know it's at 6:00, but you have to be here. I'm like, look, I don't have a wife. I am the wife. I know you guys all have wives, and that's why you can be here at 6. I need to be home. My daughter has picture day tomorrow. Like, they don't realize they're able to do it because the women in their lives are taking up the slack for all the other stuff. It's so interesting. Yeah.
Fascinating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think we start to devalue our intuition, right? Like, we know it's there, but we devalue it because it's not valued in the ecosystem where we're playing, in the arena where we're showing up,
Absolutely.
And I've actually been thinking back. I can remember this story when I was 5 years old, and we were down at the river that went through our ranch in California, right? And my dad had fished this river since he was a little kid. Property had been around a long time. And I pulled out we were fishing together. I pulled out the biggest steelhead fish he'd ever pulled out of the river. And I was 5 years old, and I said to him, "See, Daddy, you don't need a boy." Because it was me and my sister, and he'd wanted another child, and he wanted a boy to add to the family. And he must have been asking my mom for that, right? Mm-hmm. And at 5, I'd picked that up. And I was like, "See, you don't." And I've spent a lot of this life seeing, "See, you don't," until recently.
Yes. It's so true. And like, one of the reasons I chose the military was because I really wanted an opportunity. I'm from New York. So like all of the hardness that you can imagine, it's in there. It was in there. And so, really doing something that no one thought I would make it out of basic training. I mean, everyone was shocked that I passed, and not because I'm not like, dedicated, but more so because it's considered to be a man's thing. Like, no woman in my family had ever served in the military. And there are a lot of women in the military. I'm still shocked that people are shocked that women can do what men can do in the military. That's hilarious. But, it was such a big deal to me to be able to serve among men. One of the things that pushed me when I was in the military was I want to be twice as better than all of the men that I'm stationed with, that I can directly relate to every day. Which again was validation. Like, if I can be better than them, then that means I'm really doing well.
It's amazing the systems we set up for ourselves.
Yes.
Like which yardstick we decide to grab onto to measure our worth.
Yes.
And I think I've shifted what that yardstick is a number of times this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can say more fully that when I receive a compliment, it's no longer going right to my self-worth to shore it up. It instead feels really good and solidifies what I already know. And that's been a huge shift.
That is like light years. I mean, I don't think I've thought of it in that way. I'm so happy you said it in that way, because for me, it's been when I receive a compliment or someone says, you know, I just think you're amazing. There is a part of me at first that's taken aback by having someone share that with me, because I was such a perfectionist for much of my life. That's not something that was shared with me because I was doing really well. So people usually aren't telling people that when they're at the top, that they're doing really well, because, you know, it's already happening.
And all those boundaries that we have to bounce those off.
Right. Like, no, I'm off limits. All things are off limits. Right. And so, I feel like I really do take it into my heart. Like, it's like, I truly appreciate you sharing this with me. And I feel it. I don't think I would have felt it before at all. I would have heard it and it would have been great, but it wouldn't have been something that I took to heart and really, let myself, experience the emotion of someone saying, I think you're amazing. Definitely was not on the agenda. Yeah.
So the transition from this boundaried, armored military warrior to the woman who shares a book of poetry this year that blows my heart and soul open. Talk to us about that.
Yes. It's, Salve is just, I want to say a labor of love, because it was something I was writing just for myself. I never imagined that I would be putting this book out. And as I began writing all of the poetry, which, you know, some of it's pretty personal. Like, if you know me and you read it, and even if you don't know me, you're like, wow, okay. And so one of the things that was so important about this book for me was that the book was for me. I didn't care if one person bought it. Even though I wanted it to do well, the human part of me was like, it would be great if this investment that I did at least returned on what I had put in.
But you know what? I think the best projects happen that way. When I started the podcast, someone asked me, why are you doing the podcast? And when I got really honest, it was like, I'm doing it for me.
Yes. Like, the book was just 100% for me. I didn't do anything traditional. The book cover I chose, like, if you look at my book next to all the other books on Amazon that are poetry books, it's not even the same. Like, I wanted it to just be a 1000% something that represented pretty much all of my childhood and adult life. And I really wanted it to be something that I could pick up and revisit those wounds and those women, 21-year-old Yasmine, 15-year-old Yasmine, 7-year-old Yasmine, and be able to sit with her in those moments. And so it does blow me away when people say that they resonate with it, because, you know, those are my real life experiences. None of the poetry in the book is about any other woman that I know or anybody else. They're all mine. And so it just helped to show me more and soften me into, we're all going through the same stuff. I almost cursed. I don't know if we can curse on the show. But we're all
you bring anything you want with me. You know that.
We're all going through the same shit. So it's like it helped unite that feeling in me, because it's so easy, especially for like us warrior types, to separate. Like, I'm different. Like, that's why I'm going through this, because I'm different. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from or where you're from in the US or even in this world. I've had women read that book and say, that was me at some point. And it's just been amazing to see and experience.
Well, my experience of it is it's so gorgeously laid out. It's so easy to tumble right in and see yourself in it because it's so raw, right? Because you're right. We all have those raw parts of ourselves. Yeah. And I like to use it, rather than having read it cover to cover, I like to use it as an oracle, right? So I'll just flip around and be like, what do I need today? And open up and it blows my mind.
I love that. You know, there's a few women who have told me that they're using it as an oracle, and it's a powerful oracle. Oh. It's not a joke.
I actually, the first reading you did, we were playing around with that a little bit, and I yelled out 33.
Oh,
for page 33. And page 33 for what I was experiencing in that moment in my life was like, oh my God.
Yes. It's really intense. And even the love section of that book, there are I did the love part, the light part, which, you know, if you're listening and you didn't read it, the light still incorporates a ton of the shadow, a ton of what we go through, because the glory of the light is that you will still go through the shadow, but now you're apt with more tools, for lack of a better term, to be able to deal with the shadow. So I can be in the light and still be dealing with the darkness. That is a part of being human here.
You mean it's not all rainbows and unicorns?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry to tell you.
This interview is now over. My world has been exploded. No, yeah, I'm with you.
Yes. It's, you know, and so I really wanted to show, yes, I'm on the other side of these circumstances, but the shit's coming. It's still coming. It's going to come. And the shadow just, and calling the shadow in, doing the work, the trauma work, the shame work, you know, whatever your work is literally an invitation to do more work. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in the depths of the shadow every single day. And if I'm not in the shadow, then I'm not doing the work. No, it's more so I have to show up when my shit comes up. Yeah. If I don't show up when it comes up, it will continue to come up. At least that's my experience and Shannon's experience.
Yeah. This is a human experience, you know?
Yes. And so, but I wanted to do it in a way that could be digested and integrated without it being this is my story. I didn't want to tell my story. I just wanted you to experience it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous. Oh my God. I love it. So when does the poetry start? Have you always written? When you were deployed, were you writing?
I've always written. And when I was deployed, I don't think I did as much prose as I did in the book, but I definitely did poetry. I've actually entered poetry contests as young as 10 and won. I've always done poetry and writing. I think it was just something that I thought was private. And the one contest that I did enter, I won. And after doing that, I was like, oh, I'll never publicly write anything again. And so I probably didn't publicly write anything again until Instagram became big. And I started sharing my stuff via Instagram. And even sometimes that for me is hard because the book was easy because I was creating the book for me. But when you create the content from a place I found that is for someone or it's supposed to get a response. Like in Instagram, I'm not supposed to post something and no one likes it. That's the whole purpose. So when it comes from that place, it's harder for me to get really excited about sharing my work. That's something I definitely struggle with social media.
I heard you talk about one time too, that now as things drop in, right? Like poems and things to write about, you have a sense whether they're more for a book format or more for the Instagram platform. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you speak to that a little?
Yes, because if you compare and I've recently taken a lot of my posts down, but if you compare what I put on Instagram to my book, The Instagram, I feel, are more downloads. Like I could be having a conversation like a one we had earlier, and there will be something that'll come down, and I'll know that that's not just for us. Like we shared it, but that's something that someone else also needs to hear. And then I'll have a poem that'll come in, and I'll write it, and I'll know that there may be more to this. There's something I'm supposed to add to this. Maybe this needs a photo. Maybe this needs me to nurture it. The experience that I'm going to have that comes to the end of this poem hasn't happened yet. So it's like, I just let it marinate. There are so many poems that I've written that did not make it in the book because I feel like they're not complete yet. Yeah.
Oh, volume 2. I love, too, this idea around you've written forever, even written poetry forever, and that you found this way to intentionally nurture and nourish yourself in that way as an adult, right? Even while being a wife and a mama and a job and all of these things, like, this is an important message, I believe, out there, that we can nourish and nurture those parts of ourselves even amidst what looks really busy.
Oh, yeah. I feel like, I know people write and do things from a place of like where I was, 5 years ago, like I was talking about earlier. You can create amazing bodies of work without looking at your shit, for sure. That's how alcoholics do it. That's like, it happens.
And people relate to it too, because it's hard to look at your stuff.
Yes.
Oh
my God.
Yasmine and I have spent some time this year together looking at our stuff. It's been an incredible year and a tough one.
And a very tough one. A more present one than I've had ever in my life.
Agreed.
But definitely more like the tough stuff is there. And now I know that it's not going anywhere. That's probably the biggest difference. The tough stuff's probably been there. I've been like, but I'm also busy with this. So you're going to have to wait. That's not how it works anymore. But yeah, I really feel like allowing my poetry to not be an escape, but something that I never write when I'm upset. For the most part, I'll write in my journal. Mm-hmm. I'll literally journal. But I let my poetry and I let my Instagram posts and all of those things be something I do from a place of excitement. A friend shared this with me that Glennon Doyle said, like she doesn't share wounds. She shares scars, not wounds. Mm-hmm. And I love that because that's kind of a definition for how I write. It's never from a place of something that I'm still dealing with, something I'm still triggered by. Because God knows what that post would look like. Like it's going to be more, you know what I'm like when I'm triggered. So it's definitely not my poetry. So yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to acknowledge that like when you or I are triggered, we're stepping more into that now.
Yeah.
And taking more responsibility for that. Right? It's not so much you triggered me. It's right. I was triggered and now sometimes I have a hard time being like, I get to look at this as much as like, I have to look at this. I'm still working on that part of it.
I always say, this is what's up for me. Cause I couldn't say I get to look at this cause I'm like, this is bullshit. I had things to do today. I had other stuff that, like, and I get to look at this crap that's got me crying. It's more like, you know what? This is what's up for me. I'm not sure why this is up.
I like that.
But it's up.
I like that a lot. Yeah. So as you're moving through life, can you talk to us about how you honor the feminine and stay in touch with your intuition?
Yes. My goodness. I want to say I don't know anyone. I probably do, but honoring the feminine, like even that as a whole would be something I would have ran from.
Me too.
And it saved my life. I feel that every day I feel into my body. And I know if you don't do this, you're like, what does that mean? I'm going to like quickly explain it for me. I listen to the aches, where they're coming from, if there's any pain, if there's any, if I feel tired. The simple act of, should I take a nap, to me is honoring the feminine. That's something I never would have done. And if I did accidentally fall asleep, I would have awoken upset that I wasted time that I could have been doing something else. And so for me, it's being present to what I'm actually feeling in the moment by moment, not what I should do later on in night. It's not the list. It's not what we're going to have for dinner. It's not the play date. Because the mommy stuff to me used to feel like the feminine. I thought, oh, I'm a mom. That's honoring the feminine. No, I masculine that up too. Dude,
I took a business of all women and masculined it up and was like, why do I hate this business and feel depleted?
Right. It's feeling, it's really listening to what I feel. I think we were talking about this earlier, and a friend and I were talking about it yesterday, so this is definitely up. It's like all of the signs that come up and say, I shouldn't do this. Not only should I not do this, I don't want to do this. And for some reason, I would continue to do it and then get there and be like, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. That to me is honoring the feminine, when I'm like, okay, my body is telling me that I shouldn't be doing this. And I think it's interesting that with honoring the feminine, that the body is the human part of us. And we were talking about this too. Like, we sometimes separate like our spiritual needs from our physical ones. And when you say like feeling into your body, listening to your body, like, where do you feel it? What is it? What are the emotions? That's all human experiences. And I feel like that to me, really helps me to step into being a feminine person that's here, present. I'm experiencing it now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you spoke so beautifully to the how, right? Like, we can take our wounded masculine energy to mothering, to cooking dinner, to all of these things, right? So it's the how we show up in things. That's the important part. And for me, I feel like there was a time when I lived in this really small dance floor, if you will. And there was 4 steps. And so I just kept getting into the same wounded loops over and over. And what's gone on with starting to honor the feminine and getting into the shadow work is that dance floor has expanded. There are many more steps, and we refer to tools all the time, right? We've got more tools, but what it really means is more freedom, because I make choices. I make choices. And sometimes I fall back into those old steps. They're there. Yes. We just have shifted our relationship with them. But it feels so different to me than the old ways. I mean, you and I were just talking about, I was in a situation where I felt my intuition be like, I don't want to go do this. But I'd made a commitment. And so I stepped into that loop where like, oh, but I've made a commitment, so I must show up. Right? I
was just telling a group of women a few weeks ago, the minute I know that I was stepping into my feminine self and honoring, the choice. I love that word. Choice is like the key that lets you know that you're listening to what's a yes and what's a no. Is when I gave myself permission to be late. I've never been late. Like, I'm a veteran. 15 minutes early is late. Okay. And I started allowing myself, like, you know what? It's okay. Or like, I can't make it. I know we were supposed to do this and I can't make it today, or I forgot, or something happened. And I'm still having the human experience of, oh my God.
How did I do that?
How did I do this? And then I have to walk myself through, like, it's okay. You made a human mistake. Have compassion for myself. Have empathy for myself. And then just move through it.
My latest one actually affected my daughter. because I hadn't gotten the physician physical form in to put in the file. And so a couple weeks ago, they sent her home with me because the inspector was coming.
Oh my gosh.
And babe, she's like, so here's the crazy thing. I took her in the day before, but she had to have a TB test, so they couldn't read it until the day after, right? And so I've got to grab her up from the playground. And she doesn't want to go. She wants to play with her friends, and she's going to miss computer, but she's crying.
Oh.
I get her to the car, babe, and I'm crying. And I'm like, you know what? Mommy makes mistakes too, and she's really sorry, and we're going to be in this together. And I feel like the worst mother on the face of the earth. And I come home feeling all of that. And I'm crying in my foyer, right? Because I have now what I've screwed up has affected her. And I've got a full Wednesday of things to do.
Right.
And so in the past, I would have been like, okay, you watch television. I'm going to do these things. And we would have rammed up against each other all day and suffered. And instead it was like, you know what? Let's go have fun. I moved some things around. We went shopping. We went to our favorite lunch spot. I took her to the hands-on museum. And it changed everything. I'm putting her to bed that night, and we have this total calm between us.
And it's like, it's those actions, because, I mean, I don't want to say like kids can be the biggest shamers, but they really can. They're like, you were supposed to sign the permission slip 3 days ago, and now no one's going on the trip because I didn't. I'm like, oh my God, like I've ruined everything. And my daughter's 7 now, and she now understands, like, she'll even say to me, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to do that. And she's like, it's okay, mommy, everybody makes mistakes. And you'll see with you, like, they start repeating it. When you start practicing it, they really start to understand, wow, there's forgiveness when you make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. And they show you the same grace and empathy that you show them when they make mistakes as well. That's what I think it really is.
I think it created also a space, I hadn't thought about that, where I'm giving her more grace and empathy around mistakes also.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because now it's like, this is how mommy behaves. And the whole thing, you crying in front of them and everything, they're like, wow, look, she's losing it. I do that. That's me sometimes. And then they immediately mirror the action when they see you having it. As opposed to when we're skipping the emotions, they're skipping the emotions with us, and we're trying to get through everything that we wanted to do that day. And they're like, not happening. I feel what's happening. It's not happening.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're these little energetic beings that pick up on everything and like amplify it.
Yes. Yes.
Can you talk about your new project? Because I'm excited to talk about it.
Sure. So I'm creating a skincare line, and I'm actually in the branding stage right now, which is so exciting because, you know, it's like birthing a baby. You don't know what it's going to look like. You're praying it's cute. No, but I'm so excited because I wanted to create skincare products that made it easy for women like me, really, and like Shannon, like most of the women that we know, to get ready quickly but still take care of themselves. And the message is hidden into the steps. Like if you have done not an ounce of self-care, you won't even know you're doing it, but you are. But I've made everything very simple where it's something that you would actually do every day. Everyone's been in that place where they bought all of these things that are supposed to help them take care of their skin. And then like 3 years later, they find it and they've done nothing. They've never used it because we're busy living lives and changing the world and all that. So I wanted it to be something that you could travel with and just really do anywhere. And it's all natural and it's organic and it's non-GMO. And I just feel like what we put into our bodies is so important to the way we run energy. And I don't go crazy with it. I mean, I have Chick-fil-A from time to time like anyone else, but I also feel like it's really important to at least be as present as you can to what you're putting in your body.
And so. I think too, I got more present to what I was putting in my body. And yeah, perfection, we're not into that. But it took me a while to realize what I was putting on my body was also just as important because the skin is taking it all in.
Yes. And it's like, it's the biggest organ. And I'm the same way. It took me a long time. I had been doing organic and non-GMO for a while in my food. And then I was like, oh my God, my makeup is toxic. Like I didn't even realize. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah, me neither.
And so I was looking for products that made it easy or that like combined the ingredients I was looking for. And it all took a lot of steps. And there are some products that I really love, but I was like, I need to create this myself. And so I can't wait for it to come out. I've gotten such good reviews from the ladies who have tried it. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. And it's fun to move your energy into new stuff that feels really exciting and aligned, you know?
Absolutely. It feels like it's interesting when you have those dreams and you're like, these are the things that I want to work on one day. Maybe it'll come true. And to actually be making them happen and to actually be doing the work and to see them come to fruition. That's been probably one of the most fascinating things about this journey is it gives you the space and the presence to make your dreams come to life.
Yeah. And so I just want to be really clear about what you're talking about. Like doing the shadow work creates the space to step into these things that you really want to do. That's been my experience too.
Yes, because when you don't deal with the emotions and you don't deal with the trauma and you don't deal with all of the things that are literally blocks. If you think of them as you're driving down the road and you get to a road that you need to turn left on, but the police have blocked it. So now you have to go right. Right takes you completely away from where you're trying to go. Like that's an energetic block, or that's a conscious block. Sometimes, we have unconscious blocks, which I feel like are more energetic. And then sometimes we're making conscious decisions to avoid conversations with family members, people putting up boundaries with people who aren't treating us well at work. Sometimes quitting our job and moving someplace else. Those things are like literally keeping us from focusing on, first of all, this isn't even my purpose. This isn't even my person. This isn't even what I'm supposed to be doing. And I want to move forward and do something else. But I'm stuck here thinking about how this person is keeping me from doing it. And I don't realize that I hold all of the control and power to just say, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm going to shift. And it doesn't have to be, no, I'm not doing this anymore. Fuck you. It's, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I love me and I wish you the best. Sometimes it's not that cut and dry, but that for me is when I know something that I'm calling in is coming. When I can clear something and I don't feel in my body the tightness that comes from, I can't wait to get you back for what you did to me. That feeling of, or I can't wait to prove you wrong and show you that I am worth it. That work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can relate to that work, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, my love, are you ready for the random questions?
Oh, I'm excited. I was going to say I was nervous, but I am excited.
They're not hard and there's no right answers. So
awesome.
The first one is, if you could sit down with any woman, alive or dead, for a chat and tea, who would it be?
Oh, my first inclination would be Oprah, but I have to go with Michelle Obama because I could probably ask her some questions about Oprah and then get all the information I want to know about her.
Yeah, I love how you did that, by the way.
I rationalized. I really, I think it's just, I have a little bit of a fascination with first ladies anyway, all of them, because I just don't understand, what makes you sign up to do something like that. And I'd love to speak to them about how that works and what that feels like. But specifically for Michelle, who is Ivy and smart and strong and, all of these things, and the first African-American first lady of the United States. I really want to know what it was like having to face all of that adversity and how she did it with two small children, specifically during a time where you would think there wouldn't be as much adversity, like it was in 1965. And I just find also their youth, they were very young, president and first lady. And where she came from is very similar to my background. And so I would just love to have a conversation. And that could come true. So, Michelle, if you're listening.
That's funny. You remember my mom was going to say, Michelle, if you're listening. Same page. Same thing dropped in. And I love the second question is, where would you most like to travel?
Right now, Hawaii's on my list. My husband lived there for 2 years when he was in the military, and he said when he landed there, he knew he was home. My husband is not woo-woo. So for him to say something like that, I feel strongly pulled to visit that place. And any time that I've ever spent in the mountains, they all have something different to say and something different to offer. So I really feel like Hawaii is going to blow my mind. Yeah. Yeah,
there's that sense too of knowing him more deeply when he feels at home geographically like that. There's something about that. How beautiful.
Yes.
I also am feeling the call to Hawaii. Pele's been playing with me for the last year, so we'll see.
Ooh. Yes, and of course she's playing the fire goddess.
Nothing less. How do we reach out and connect with you? How do we get more Yasmine in our lives? The book, the skincare, all of it.
So my book is available now on Amazon and it's on iTunes, and it's Salve, Salve. You can also find me on Instagram, Yasmine Cheyenne. That's YasmineCheyenne. And I have a website, yasminecheyenne.com.
And we will put all of that on the show notes for this episode over at honorthefeminine.com. So you have a really easy way to connect with Yasmine. I would just like to say that Yasmine coming into my life has been such a beautiful, beautiful gift. And in particularly the poetry, I get to take it I get to have this little piece of you with me all the time, and I love it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Hello again, everyone. I loved being with Yasmine. I always love being with Yasmine. It's like a couple of warriors getting together. And it always feels amazing. She really is incredible. She has been such an inspiration this year on my journey of really stepping into my shadow. I have met some incredible women, including Yasmine, who are willing to step in. And you know what? Shadow can feel scary. It's where we find all the parts of ourselves, but when we're first stepping in, it can feel scary. And it has been just amazing for me to have women like Yasmine who are willing to do it too. And willing to hold each other up as we do it, to hold space for each other in that way. And so I am deeply honored to know Yasmine and to have her in my life. And then she offered Salve, the poetry book, and it is, I keep it in my office and I love it. And I recommend it to all of you. It's gorgeous and it's raw and it's Yasmine and it's all of us. So if you would like to get a quick link to Yasmine and to the book, you can go to honorthefeminine.com to the show notes for this episode. Yeah, bring that into your life because it has been, I love it. Also, we are starting Remembering Divine Union. I am so excited to step in with the really dedicated, committed women who've said yes to Ava and I on this journey to go into the shadow. And I know it can feel scary. It was scary for me. But the women that have joined us, it's really exciting. And we're looking really forward to the next 8 months together to watch the transformations. Also, please subscribe to the podcast. That way you don't miss any of the wonderful episodes that are coming up. And finally, you can go over to Facebook to our collective for the podcast at Honor the Feminine Daily. It's a great place to commune with other women that are listening and to feel into how you can honor the feminine every day. All right, if you love this episode, share Yasmine with a friend, and I'll see you all next week. Have a beautiful day.